I'm going to be talking about how to use decision science to increase adherence to IVF regimes. That's obviously something a lot of you have been grappling with, and I want to claim that you've perhaps been grappling with it even more than you realize. A little bit about me, that's my academic background. I just want to brag here that my most recent publication was in human reproduction. I'm very proud of that. So I come from a background of considerable research, considerable work on decision science, including with Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman. I used to teach consumer behavior at Wharton, and that gives me a particular edge with what consumer behavior means and how to engage consumers and how to convince consumers alongside with all the academic background on that. I'm the director of the Center for Medical Decision Making at the Ono Academic College, and I'm very open to academic collaborations. But at some point I felt that this was not enough, because I felt that I wanted to make a difference, not just to write and publish, etc., but also to make a difference out there in the real world and help people with their health. And this is why I started going into the industry. So, as Itai said, I founded Cure My Way. My co-founder Ariel is over there by the door, and he'll be him and I will be happy to speak with you, and you'll see about what in a minute. I work a lot with big pharma. I don't consider them the enemy. I consider them the people who work to develop cures and grapple with issues that sometimes are very similar to the ones clinics are grappling with. I'm on the advisory board of several companies. I'm involved with the New York City's Health 2.0 meetup. I'm one of the organizers. I write for Psychology Today, etc. But here, really, I'm on behalf of Cure My Way and on behalf of linking academic knowledge into improving people's health, which is the ultimate goal. It's pretty dark in the room in case you're embarrassed to raise your hand, but I want to ask if anyone here has ever started antibiotics and did not finish the cycle. Okay, yeah, don't be shy. I see quite a few hands. Went on vacation and didn't take their medicine with them. You know, they just, yeah, thank you. And I see some people sinning, not just one thing, but two. Finished a prescription for statins, for example, anything that you need to continually be taking and did not fill the prescription immediately. Does that ever happen to you? Yeah, I see quite a considerable amount of hands. Not necessarily from people without medical education. Okay, so that brings me to the point that non-adherence is a huge, huge issue. And this is non-adherence to medication. The estimated cost in the US is $1 billion a day. That's a lot of money. Again, $1 billion a day just from people not taking their medicine. And if we put the money aside, that's also a lot of health gone down the drain. That's a lot of medicine that could have helped people. Some of the prescription perhaps are painkillers, etc., people can do without, but some of them are things people really need, and if they don't take them, they're jeopardizing their health. Just another take on the extent. These are all the prescriptions that were written. The green ones are the ones that were never filled, okay? The doctor wrote them, the patient never bought them. And then the graph below indicates in red, the prescriptions that were filled and taken as prescribed. You're not mistaken, that's small, that's less than 50% of all prescriptions. The rest were either never filled or not taken as prescribed. Either people did not complete the cycle or were skipping dosage, etc. Again, an enormous problem. What do? That's a very good question, and the answer is there's a lot to be done, but not a lot is being done. A study that was done by Colleen McCorney from Merck, I like to call it why oh why are people not taking their medicine, came up with 3 main suspects for non-adherence. The first one was knowledge. What do I know about this medicine? Is it safe to use? What will the side effects be? I'm not sure. If I'm not sure, I may not take it. Another cause is linked to motivation as well as to knowledge, and this is disease-related. Should I be taking care of this? Do I even believe anything can help me? And the last reason is affordability. I will not be touching upon that. I'll be briefly mentioning that throughout my talk because I think we will see that this is not the main cause for non-adherence. We are going to set affordability aside for the purpose of this talk, and we will see that there's a lot of other issues to be dealt with. So about 88% of patients are at middle to high risk of being non-adherent for these reasons. Patients involved in shared decision-making, which is something I work and study on, are more likely to be adherent. There was a recent JAMA paper actually refuting that from a certain angle, but there's still evidence that this is true. If they're better informed, they're less undecided, and they're more likely to be decided at the end of the consultation. They're also more likely to go on with the treatment as prescribed. So patients need to be informed, and that relates to knowledge, which I outlined before. But I believe certain conditions, certain diseases, and IVF is one of them, go beyond the decision of whether or not to take this or that painkiller, this or that medication for my back pain. They carry a lot of emotional weight on them. The decision is complex. It sometimes involves a partner. The effects are not immediately seen. So this is very complicated. And I was curious as to what are the causes for non-adherence in IVF. Additionally, in IVF, yes, a woman has to adhere to the treatment, to take the medicine, to inject, etc., but she has to be in treatment. And IVF presents a huge challenge because there are many, many points along the process at which a woman can drop off. So we see here that dropping off the waiting list from treatment. It's the waiting list. Treatment has not yet begun. 13% dropped off within 6 months. It was a long waiting list. They had to wait for 6 months, and 13% just dropped off. A third of the women who dropped off did that because of self-censoring, which is a catchphrase for they didn't want to do it. Now, the most common reason for dropping off is pregnancy. We like that. That's a good reason. You know, if they don't come because they got pregnant, we're very happy for them. The third most common reason is medical reasons. So maybe the doctor decided that IVF was not a good idea for this woman. But we see that for 36% of the patients, drop-off cause is self-censoring. And these are the patients that you can work with. Because if they got pregnant, you have no business with them. If the doctor said don't do IVF, you have no business with them either. About a third of the patients will drop off because they're not interested. Why would they not be interested? Okay, these are people who didn't just wander down the road to an IVF clinic. They must have gone through considerable thinking and consultation before they knocked on your door. And then they leave. There are many stages, as I said, in which women and couples can drop off. The first one is immediately after the first visit. And 16% of patients will do just that. They will make an appointment, and you know, we've been talking a lot about SEO and landing pages and how to get people to your site and how to get them to call and to schedule an appointment and to actually show up, and they show up and they drop off after the first visit. The less common stage at which people drop off is during the diagnostic workup. A lot of them, and that is the most common stage for drop-off, is after finishing the diagnostic workup, but before treatment. That's a lot of people then and there who have not even seen an IVF treatment, who have not even started it. What is going on? What is happening with these people? They were clearly engaged enough to come, to show up, to complete a diagnostic workup, and then they say, well, thank you, doctor, but I'm not interested. The next stage, of course, is during a different treatment, a non-IVF treatment, and we see certain drop-off there also, of course, as well as during IVF treatment. Now, it's interesting because IVF treatment, so I'm told, is no picnic. It's not easy, okay? Yeah, someone is smiling over there because she knows, unfortunately from personal experience, that it's not fun at all. And people do drop off. Well, some of the drop-off can't be avoided, and we see, and we will continue to see throughout my talk, that the main reasons are not necessarily medical. Finally, when we're looking at the final stage after at least 3 cycles of IVF, about 13.5% of couples drop off. I want to caveat everything that I'm saying and say, well, couples and women have the right to say, you know what, IVF is not for me, thank you very much, but I've decided to go another route. That's perfectly legitimate. And if that's their decision, God bless them, and I really hope they end up with whatever they wanted down the road. But I think, and I will show, that the reason for drop-off is not always because people are not interested. Again, an online study of couples who quit treatment. Financial constraints is a main reason, but emotional burden, 35%. You will notice that emotional burden is more harmful to continuation than poor response to treatment. And we will see this in other places as well. Okay, it's not that I'm not getting pregnant, it's that it's so darn hard. The process is so difficult, I am quitting. The extent of dropping off in treatment. So you can see that in this slide, we see that 70.5% of women dropped off in treatment. But that's very misleading, because about half the women either got pregnant or were told by their physicians that they can't continue. So these are women you have nothing to do with, okay? These women are not coming back for IVF. It's only the women at the top we can be talking about, and even if it looks like if they're just 70.5%, in effect, that's about 33%. That's the effective drop-off rate. And these numbers keep converging, which makes me think there's something there. That about 33% of patients are dropping off. This nice gentleman here is nodding, so hopefully I'm not just making this up. It keeps converging from different angles and in different studies. Another study from Alice Domar, who works with Michael Alper, I don't know if Michael's here today. 39% of patients mentioned stress as the reason why they dropped off. And this gets dicey if you're a doctor, because the main reasons for stress are, well, it takes a toll on my relationship. And the doctor can say, wait a minute, I'm an MD, I am not a couples therapist. What am I going to do? I can't help with this. Another reason is I'm too anxious or too depressed to continue. Okay, emotion, emotion, emotion. Alex, you presented it beautifully last night, and emotion is coming up here in one study after the other. They asked patients, what do you propose we do? And they said, well, we need some written information on how to deal with the psychological burden. We need access, immediate access to a psychologist or social worker. Some of these things you may be able to do, some of these things you may not be able to do, and guess what? That only makes sense because you run a fertility clinic and not a psychological service. Why couples discontinue treatment for male infertility? The main reasons, painfulness, and then ineffectiveness, okay? It's primarily, I can't take the heat, I can't take the pressure, I can't take the pain. Ineffectiveness comes next, and the last reason, which is sad, is separation of the couple, which tells me, again, there's something going on here emotionally that is very hard for these people to deal with. And who can blame them? There was a study that said, well, it's very stressful and the treatment is very difficult, so let's do treatments that are less abrasive, that are less aggressive on the patient. And then Alan Copperman from Mount Sinai, who is one of the people that I've consulted with in the process of building this software, said, well, people come to IVF treatments, guess what, in order to get pregnant. And if they might drop off, let's give them everything we can. From the moment we can do it, let's not hold back in terms of treatment in order to keep them in an ineffective treatment. So the main reasons coming from a review of studies, the main reasons for drop-off are a postponement of treatment. God knows what that means, right? What does it mean? Does it mean, well, I might have a baby tomorrow, but I'm not coming today, doctor? That might mean psychological reasons as well, but it wasn't stated. And then there's the issue of physical and psychological burden, followed by relational and personal problems. Again, you run an IVF clinic, not a psychological center, but these are the issues your patients are dealing with. And some of the reasons, for example, psychological burden, were common across all stages. What the authors proposed was, let's have an integrated solution. We recognize that greater synergy or benefit would probably be derived if these were integrated into a complex intervention. These meaning the issues from the previous slide, the psychological burden, the physical burden, the relational issues. Let's not have our patient go talk to someone over there and deal with someone over here. Let's give them an integrated solution. That's great. I think that's beautiful. I don't think anyone here would dispute that. The question is, of course, how do we do that? Because after all, you do run a fertility clinic. So you can start offering a host of services from psychological support, through couples therapy, through anything at all that would relieve the stress or anything that could possibly help. But you could say, wait a minute, I'm not sure this is my job. I'm an MD, remember, I'm not a host of other things. Then there are financial issues. So what can you offer and what can you propose? I've taken all this information into account to develop a system that we call Body and Soul. It's a weird name for something that supports medical interventions, but we chose this name because we think it relates to everything that people need. We know that the doctors will give them the best medical support. We trust you on that part. Where we want to come in is to provide all the psychological, relational, etc., every ounce and form of support that can be given in a way that is streamlined, that is integrated, and that is not necessarily created by you, because that's not what you train to do, and that may not be the focus of your work, but is developed by us. And we're doing it for a number of conditions, and we're also doing this for IVF. In fact, that's our case study. That's where we're starting. So the nice thing about Body and Soul is that it's an ecosystem. I don't know what it's like for IVF patients. I know that, for example, for diabetes patients, there's a lot of work and there's a lot of industry projects on the fact that people don't like to be the patient. It's unpleasant to be the patient. You're a person, you have a life, you may also do yoga and, I don't know, surfboard, whatever. I'm more of the yoga variant here. But maybe you like to go to the movies and you want to eat healthy, and there's a lot of things you want to do. And yes, you are a patient, but you don't necessarily want to go to the patient place. And guess what? Even if you go to the patient place and you like it, you can't really share it with others because they're not patients. So what we've done is we've created a platform for people in general, for everyone in this room, basically, because all of us want to be happy and healthy. And in it, there's an IVF community. And it's relevant for the patients, and it provides them with every bit of support they need, but it's not the IVF people, the patient place. Whether or not it makes a difference, I don't know. I don't see how it can hurt. And I know for a fact that in other conditions, it's very useful. We offer them with a score as a way of evaluating their health, which is nice and is fun. And the fun is not always there in the process. And we use elements of gamification. And I know, yes, these are women who really, really want to have a child. And I know how much I love my children, so obviously they want to do everything to get pregnant. But that doesn't mean they have to suffer every inch of the way. They can have some fun in the process. It can be gamified for them a little bit. We use a lot of scientific-based behavior change strategies, and I will list them in a minute. And we will have multiple communities, which means that if you're in the IVF community, but your sister's in the yoga community, you can talk. You can relate to that. You can relate to one another and to the platform, and there's something that goes beyond the I'm a patient experience to I'm a person using this nice platform experience. And again, it's non-stigmatized. I don't know to which degree IVF or fertility treatment feel stigmatized, but maybe you want to go to the fun health place platform rather than the IVF one. And it's comprehensive and it's holistic because we do think that people deserve every bit of support they can have, and that you deserve their engagement in the process. And I'm sure you know that there are many forums and many places where these conversations are taking place. But there's the clinics and there's the forums. And what we offer is a way for you to have some of this engagement related to your clinic, to have the women who come in for your clinic be able to receive this type of support under the auspice of your clinic without you having to create the content, to create the form, to bring in traffic, et cetera, and without it having to be very small and very restricted. We also offer psychological support because that's huge, because every person on earth needs that, let alone people under fertility treatments. As we've seen before, it's a major, major, major cause for drop-off, and even if people are not dropping off, it's a major cause for distress. And that is, if it can be avoided, that should be great. So what's the proof of concept? Where does it come from? I'm a scientist. I can't just be yakking about this is great. The proof of concept is every step of the way. The first one comes, and Yesha, you helped me yesterday because you presented the 8 or 7 habits of effective people from Stephen Covey. Habits are huge, and when someone has a habit, it sticks with them. So we incorporated the notion of habits in the system, allowing women to adhere with their regimes. We relate to lifestyle as a way to enhance identity. I'm not just the patient, I'm the woman who does yoga, who loves to read, who has a lot of other things going for her. Yes, we help women stick with their regimes, and we do that in a rewarding way, in a way that's effective, but also fun and engaging. We use something that I've developed along with a personality expert. We have our special strategy, algorithm-based, on helping people devise the change that they need to undergo at the pace that is right for them. If they want to change a lot but can't, then we will offer them a smaller amount of change, because that's a change that they can accomplish, and they can accomplish faster. We also allow people to decide what they want to focus on. With things that are disease-related or condition-related, there's no room really for a game. I mean, they can't say, well, I don't want to inject today, I'll just do it tomorrow. That's not where we're letting them partner, but we are letting them partner in creating their own lifestyle habits and the things that they want to preserve. We have role models for change, which has been shown to be incredibly effective, incredibly useful, and of course, a platform for sharing and receiving social support. Finally, deriving on my work and research in psychology and happiness, we incorporated a lot of positive psychology as a way to alleviate stress and to remove some of the psychological burden. I will skip over that just to say that it's fairly unique, because it's rare to find a platform that is predisposing, as in explaining why things are important, enabling in all the practical tools that we provide, and reinforcing. And we definitely do all 3 things. And we do them because that's my specialty. That's where I come from. I'm a psychologist. I deal with behavior change, and this is how we created our platform. The advantages to patients and to spouses, whoever they are, is that this is a resource that's associated with the clinic. And it's different from saying I found a great forum, and the forum is there, and my clinic is here, and never the twain shall meet. There's the emotional support that you seek. There's a lot of information and practical tools. There is support from peers, and there are role models. There's an ability to contribute content, to participate, because I'm not just a patient. I'm not just passive and having things done to me, but I can contribute and I can make a difference. And there's a video channel. Yes, this is engaging, and people like that. So we're creating all of that essentially for you and for your patients. And there's also support for spouses, because they can be left alone. And guess what? When relational tension or stress is one of the reasons for drop-off, then you might want to also take care of the spouse. The advantages to clinics, they're pretty obvious, but I'll run you through them. It's an ability to provide integrated support in a way that does not demand your time and your expertise, or your marketing person's expertise if you have one. Emotional and psychological support, and issues that you may not have the time or the ability or the resources to deal with within the clinic. An IVF community that's linked to your own clinic, and an ability to contribute content to a centralized IVF clinic, IVF community. So if you've created a wonderful video, or if you have something phenomenal to say, you wrote a paper, or you wrote anything at all that you want to share with the IVF community and with patients, this is a great place to do that. This is our general community. It's not the IVF one, clearly, but it's a nice one. It's a fun one. It doesn't say this is the place where sick people go to get support. It says this is the place where people go to take good care of their habits, their health, and their well-being. They set their habits. They have a video channel, and I'm running through this incredibly quickly, and they have the practical support of a calendar in a monthly way and in a daily way, into which you can integrate everything that you need to do in terms of treatment. So what we offer and where we're seeking partnership is we're seeking partners, collaborators to start with, to start giving this platform to your patients and for you to see whether there's a difference, whether you see a change in adherence and stress and anything and drop off. That's what we're looking for. That's where we are seeking you, and that's where I'll be waiting for you during the break, and afterwards I'll be on a panel, but Ariel will be there. Really happy to look for you, to talk to you. We're offering gated communities for your centers so that if you say I have terrific content, but I want it to be linked to my clinic and that's it, then there will be a gated community and you can give the password to your patients. As an academic, we're offering the possibility for academic research. I, more than anyone, would love to validate this platform, not just to say, I think it's going to be great because it's based on literature, but to actually say, we did a study. We showed that in a randomized trial, the patients who received the platform were less likely to drop off. They're more likely to adhere to medication. They reported less stress, more satisfaction. That's great. Nothing would make me happier, not just because it's my platform, but because it can really contribute to women's health. Please contact me if you want to become a partner. I'm here all day at this beautiful conference, and I'm more than happy to talk to you and to start a partnership, basically, small-scale partnership, to give it a try and hopefully to make things better for women and for clinics. Thank you very much.